Listened to in 165 countries, downloaded over 1 million times in 2014. Your one stop for scientific research on building muscle and gaining strength. Interviews with elite strength professionals and strength athletes, and a whole lot more. This is the Barbell One Show.
Hey guys, so I'm doing a dual recording here for both the podcast and for YouTube. And so I'll be honest with you, when I do my podcast, typically to keep me on task, I am basically reading off a script to a degree. As some of you may notice, you're like, how does he flow so consistent? So what I'll be doing here today, for those of you hearing on the podcast, will probably just sound normal. For those of you watching on the YouTube, will probably be like, why is he looking down constantly? Well, it's because I'm reading off my script. And that's just to make things more time effective, make sure I cover everything that I wanted to cover. Excuse me here real quick. Sorry. Should have done that before, although I did. It's been a little bit of a groggy morning. So let's just jump into things. We'll pretend like this is a podcast. So, hey guys, just wanted to remind everyone that our fractional weight plates are back in stock. We have plenty to go around. Grab yours today using the discount code PLATE7 to get $7 off. Again, that's at barbell1.com. Alrighty, so I want to apologize for any listeners that tune in their morning commute. Wednesday night into Thursday, I pulled essentially an all-nighter, going to bed at 6 a.m. After working straight through from Wednesday, the day before. And I slept about 2 hours before I had to be up and running my booth at a demo gym event for about 13 hours yesterday. Getting home after 11 p.m., I knew that I wouldn't create an episode. The episode would be pathetic at best. I was just, in complete zombie mode. So I figured I would record today instead. And something I've been thinking about for some time now is, hold your breath, is to switch to a 3-day-a-week show from 5. So some of you longtime listeners know that I also used to be a 7-day-a-week show. And here we are today, kind of like, I guess, an anniversary episode 450. So kind of a good moment to just kind of reevaluate and think about things. So for some of you, I know this change will come as a big disappointment. For others, I know it can already be overwhelming to keep up with how frequent that I put out new episodes. And so I know not everyone is going to be entirely bummed. Some people are probably like, okay, that's a little more manageable. I can keep up with that better. So that's what's going on there. Now, if you've been listening to the show long enough, there's a couple other occasions where I admitted that my crazy hectic schedule almost caused me to, miss putting out an episode. But somehow, some way, I would always record something because I just didn't want to be a chump and falter on short notice. I want it to be a informed decision where I thought about it enough, decided, this is the right move, rather than simply just I'm stressed in the moment, and it's like, dude, suck it up, you'll figure it out, and get on with things. So in this case, I've been thinking for quite some time now, and with the way the month of June is looking, it's been shaping up to be, there's just no way that I'm going to be able to keep up 5 days a week. But again, I didn't want to make a rash decision and stop due on an acute moment just to, feeling the stress. So, as I said, I've been thinking about this for a long enough time to know that it needs to be done. I want to continue to provide good, quality, energetic content where I'm, into what I'm doing and liking it and everything. And, I just need to be able to cut back a little bit in order to be able to do that. So I figured I'd give you guys kind of a typical day in the life. It's funny, this is the old school PR Products logo. From some of you that have followed me for a while, maybe know that Barbell One used to be called PR Products. And so two reasons why I want to do a little day in life. I think one, some people would be interested. They'd be curious, yo, what's up? What's he do? This mysterious John Bossy guy, what does he do? And then two, I think also, I'm not trying to have a sob story or beg, but I do think to a degree of transparency is nice. What do you do in your time where if you're a regular podcast host like this, what's your rationale for thinking that things are a little too hectic and kind of tight to fit that in? And people will say all the time, dude, how do you keep up this 7-day-a-week show? How do you keep up this 5-day-a-week show? And you're always kind of I don't know, I just do somehow. But I figured I'd just roll through kind of a typical daily schedule. So typical day for me goes like this: wake up at about 10 a.m. Given usually taking forever to finish up the previous day's stuff. So I wake up about 10. I prep my breakfast as I'm scanning through emails and orders and things, just kind of making sure there's nothing absolutely major that must be dealt with immediately before I record my podcast. Then I read my article to cover on the show, or if it's like a music episode, I'm gathering that music, or if it's kind of an odd topic, just preparing for that, etc. And then so I eat my breakfast as I do that. And as soon as I'm done eating breakfast, I record the show, send the info off to my virtual assistants, make the post on the website. Then I usually head to the gym, try and do about 30 minutes of my hip rehab stuff, which yes, I still have to do on a daily basis to try and get out of the woods here. Still honestly struggling with that a lot. It continues to be a real challenge. But anyways, we all get challenges, right? So when I finish with that, it's usually about 1 p.m. And so I quickly make my next meal. And then usually while eating that, I start to get orders ready, get packaging for orders ready. Then the afternoon is spent making you guys' products, working with my numerous manufacturing partners, etc. Just kind of all the logistics of making the products and fulfilling orders. Usually come about 5:30ish. It's kind of like this panic mode of figuring out like, how do I get everything off to UPS and the post office, or pick everything up that I need for my local manufacturing partners in time to make the shipment. Well, meanwhile, usually what I've been doing the last few months, my buddy and part-time employee Dan texted me asking like what time can he come over to help with the shed that we're building for extra Barbell 1 storage. So I'm in the battle of just getting orders out, which is very important, and then meanwhile also maximizing the limited time that I have with Dan to work on that little storage unit, and because he gets out of his main job, then by then it's about 5ish, and then he has to be to work very early in the morning, and then also not to mention it gets dark at night. So then we work right through whenever I can get done with the post office, etc. Right through trying to maximize the daylight time till usually about 9 or 10 p.m. Sometimes he'll stay a little later, and we do just various basic Barbell and tasks and stuff that I could use his help with. Then he'll head out, and then I usually get home, get squared away with everything, probably about 9:30, 10:30 p.m. And then I contemplate like, how the hell am I going to fit in my training? And if I can go, it's usually probably about 50-50. If I can go, I go. If there's too much Barbell and stuff going on, sometimes I just have to skip it, which really stinks. It's kind of, I sometimes feel like I'm not being currently a good example of, practicing what I preach. A little bit of it's just the frustration and motivation for training is not quite what it used to be because of the hip. But it's still no excuse, and in terms of just the motivation. And so then it just becomes a matter of, prioritization. And unfortunately, sometimes, your customers and business matters just have to come before the iron. So I deal with that. And then, meanwhile, I should mention it's been raining daily. I live here in Utah, sometimes multiple times a day for many weeks now. It pretty much always makes it tricky, timing, shed work, and things like that. So then I get done my training about midnight, but about halftime again, like I said, I don't get to train, and I'm just right back to Barbell 1 work straight through till midnight. Then I eat a post-workout meal while attending to more emails, social media, sometimes dealing with people overseas, sourcing materials both here and abroad, sometimes doing more manufacturing tasks, and then also updating any local manufacturing partners about what needs to happen in the morning, etc. So typically I'm fighting a balance between like I need to get to bed so that I can get up at a more normal time the next day. That's a goal that constantly eludes me. But meanwhile, the battle is because I know I'm running late, so I won't be up as early as, say, these manufacturing partners, suppliers, etc. Some are on the East Coast, may need to ship stuff in the morning. So, when I'll be sleeping is when, they'll be handling stuff. So it's like I kind of get to this point where I'm like, well, I can't go to bed because I'm going to be up late, so I better quickly handle this, that, and the other thing to make sure that it gets done while I'm sleeping. So eventually, around 2 to 3 a.m. usually, I finish. What I feel is more urgent, I go to sleep, get up, do it all over again. I should also mention I have a couple other products I've invented, and a couple things I resell on eBay. I handle all that myself as well. That's just another means to just support overall growth and what I'm doing, diversify a little bit. So that's how I roll. 7 days a week, even on weekends, even on holidays. Gotta be honest, I don't really have any social life activities, etc. I don't own a TV. Pretty much just live Barbell 1 around the clock. So that's the daily life, and honestly, if anyone thinks that's overwhelming, like to me, it's no big deal. I'm not trying to be like, oh, I'm so much harder working or cooler than you. No, I'm just saying, it's cool. I can handle it. I love it. It's no big deal. The tricky part comes when I throw in travel and or booth events and stuff, local or far away. Like say yesterday, I was at my booth for 13 hours, and mind you, all the usual daily tasks still technically need to be done during those 13 hours. So I'm handling stuff on my phone during the downtime at the event, maybe getting Dan to ship stuff for me. And that's just for an in-town event. But then when I'm out of town, usually involves being away for a couple days, and so things get even more insane. Meanwhile, I have things where, say I had an arrangement with an event promoter to, like, say, get a deal on a booth, because I also sometimes do event coverage, interview competitors and things, get some footage of the event. And so, like, I've got footage backed up on that I'm supposed to be airing to make good on my part of those agreements, and I don't want to be that douchebag that's like, oh yeah, I'll get to it, oh yeah, I'll get to it, etc. So just tons of little things like that I'm always just overwhelmingly far behind on amidst, what's always going on. So I just had to really do some hard thinking. Next week we have a new sewing machine coming in to handle out our own watch bands and bracelets and some other new products and things that are in the works. And these are stuff that I have current partners to do, but as I continue to grow and scale, like, they're just kind of fitting in on the side. They probably are, I shouldn't say probably, are not going to have time to meet my demand. So something I've had to take on. Meanwhile, we get some really exciting things in the works, really cool stuff with collaborations on watches and stuff. So we'll be needing to get all the materials, all that stuff ready for those, getting everyone up to speed on using the new machine. And we may have a booth, so here's June. We may have a booth at the NPC Utah all day June 6th. If not, we're probably going to be doing another Barbell 1 fundraiser online over the weekend, which will have me equivalently, if not more, busy. Then June 10th to 13th, I'm in Mesquite, Nevada for an AAU National Powerlifting event, which I'm also driving to and from. I get back on the 14th, then I fly out on the 17th to Maine for a very brief visit with my family and also a very good friend's wedding. So I'm with my family like 18th in the morning of the 19th. Then the 19th to the 22nd, I have my grad school roommate's wedding, and in that wedding, and so ultimately the wedding itself, the rehearsal, like all that jazz is going on. And then I only get like a day and a couple hours with my family on the tail end of that, because June 24th I fly back to Salt Lake. Then the very next day, June 25th, I have an all-day booth, probably at two different gyms. Probably Dan and I will split up. That's the same thing like I just did yesterday at Vasa Fitness. So that's on the 25th. And then immediately after that, the next 2 days, June 26th and 27th, we have a Equip Nationals powerlifting event here in Salt Lake City. So we're doing watches as a best lifter awards for that. It's going to be our first time doing something like that. So I'm sure there's going to be last-minute logistical things to handle that, not to mention, setting up the booth and all that jazz. So that puts me through to the 27th of June. And then, when that's all done, I'll be frantically trying to move forward and launch one of these big watch collaborations, hoping to handle most of the initial, rush from that launch before July 10th, when I fly out to Sacramento for the California Natural Muscle Mayhem, where I'll be having a booth, probably doing some contest coverage as well. Booth is on the 11th, fly back on the 12th, and then I am home, I think, until, big announcement, call me crazy, but we are having a booth at the Mr. Olympia Expo in Vegas this year, September 18th and 19th. Doing that's going to be much bigger than anything I've ever done, and so I'll be spending pretty much the rest of July, August, and September preparing for that. We'll have monthly demos at gyms, the local gyms here. I have 2 weddings to attend, one that I'm flying to, one that's local, and maybe some other just miscellaneous events. I'll probably get restless somehow and be like, oh, we should schedule some more local events in the middle of that. So that's the updates on what's going on with me. Just this constant battle of kind of like not being able to run things as efficiently as I'd like because I don't have my extra storage space yet built, but then I'm running across town to my other storage garage. And then whenever I would spend time trying to finish building that so that I can actually move a bunch of stuff over and make stuff a little more efficient, interrupted by all the other things that must be done. And one of those things is staying with my commitment to podcast all you guys 5 days a week. And when I can work my usual 14 to 16 hour days, 7 days a week, podcast mix in there, happy camper, everything's going great, bringing good enthusiasm to the table in my episodes and stuff. I think it's a win-win for everyone. But when I'm traveling and at events, which is part of growing a business, part of what I like to do, it quickly turns into a situation where I'm battling, having to serve my customers and serve my listeners, and, something has to give. And, I don't want that to be me loafing through making podcasts, have my enthusiasm be subpar. I want to bring my A game And the best way for me to do that is to move to a 3-day-a-week show. So this may not be permanent. I may have more guest hosting, etc., that would pick up the frequency. But at least for June anyways, I'd like to give this a try. If you have any feedback, feel free to email me, john@barbell1.com. And meanwhile, for any of you that may follow me who are starting your own business or thinking about it, and you might, just anyone that ever thinks like, oh, he must be balling out over there, like Barbell 1 is growing so well and he's going so great and stuff. I always like to be honest and real. Like, I don't want anyone to get the false impression that you just work really hard for a while, like all the stars align, and then you're all set. And like if that's not how it's going for you, I don't want you to think like, well, how can that be what it's going like for John? Because it's not like that for me either. I also think my risk tolerance and tolerance for uncertainty is probably pretty high compared to other people. So, things are growing. They are going well for us. I'm making a lot of progress, but scaling a business is a really tricky balancing act, and I think sometimes simply getting started and getting up to a level that you're reasonably comfortable with, like, hey, I'm seeing traction and things are growing, it can be just as tricky, if not trickier, to actually then take that into like, hey, let's really grow this thing. So I'm encountering all kinds of challenges and obstacles along the way. Things have been and will continue to be a struggle and difficult. But I'm excited to have this opportunity to do what I love, and I'm so thankful to all of you for your support. And let's just all keep grinding together and making our dreams happen, right? So reaching those goals. And one of those goals, of course, for me is to get my hip freaking healthy and actually look like I lift, and, setting a good example of implementing all the great info that's discussed on the podcast. So some of my being able to do that also, I guess, is freeing up just a hair more time to where I might actually be able to train regularly again. It's just never been this tough to have to basically say, like, it's not just a matter of prioritizing training, like it is just a matter of, like, it can't be the priority with different things going on. And that's just kind of tough and different, and, it's a different chapter of life, and that's, I think, how it needs to be right now. But at the same point, too, as someone that does make exercise equipment products and talks about all this stuff on his podcast, like, you definitely want to be someone that also, walks the walk and has a reasonably decent physique and moves some decent numbers in the gym and, all that good stuff. So, hope you guys understand. Have to be honest, too, I think for anyone starting a business or trying to set up their ideal life, you have to always be trying to move toward your ideal split of various tasks that make for an awesome and enjoyable day every day. And because I love inventing and sharing my Barbell 1 products so much, I know for me, continuing to do as much of that as possible each day is going to be the best scenario for just me really sharing the best of me, what I have to bring to the world, and what I feel I'm meant to be doing here. So check out barbell1.com for all of the products, all of the podcasts. The latest and greatest over there, I guess, is some elbow sleeves. They'll probably be going up pretty soon. They're really cool. Maybe I'll make I hate saying, maybe I'll make a video about it, because I know myself I probably will not end up getting around to that. I don't know. But they're really cool. They have little compression bands that go on the upper elbow and forearm, and they just kind of pinch down right where you want the pressure. And then otherwise they're just very thin and kind of minimalist in the middle. Tight enough, not too tight. Like, I don't know. I just feel like I've worn various elbow products for just tendonitis and little things that flare up, and from everything I've tried, I feel like these are definitely a cut above and offer some new stuff that's not in existing elbow sleeves. So sold a couple pairs yesterday at the event, so I don't know. I think they'll be cool. So check those out. And in lieu of not wanting to just start rambling a ton, I better get rolling here. You know what? Just for shits, let's show you guys. So this shed is where I live, by the way, for extra bar roll and storage. And let's see what we're working with here. Ba-bam! So there she is, vinyl siding. You can't see it, but one side is shingled. And yeah, it's just been fucking rained on for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and more weeks, and getting to that point where you're like hoping, oh, sorry, way too much zoom there. can I ever get this thing done? So that's where I'm at, guys. Thank you for watching this. I hope this was somewhat interesting to some of you, and catch you next week in some podcasts. Time for me to get on with my usual routine for the day, get some stuff out, get this video up, and that's about it. Peace out.